going to do function notation. So remember yesterday we talked about like what makes something a function. I'm going to give you guys some functions today, and I'm either going to give you the input or the output, and you're going to have to find the other one. So if I give you the input, which is x, you're basically just going to do like a plug and chug to find your answer. If I give you the output, which is y, we'd have to work backwards, which means you're going to have maybe like a two-step equation to solve. Okay? All right, so down here at the bottom, it just says function notation. It's an equation that's a function, and it may be expressed using function notation. So this is a notation that you guys need to get used to seeing, this right here. Okay, that f is kind of like italicized. So the way you read this is f of x. F of x is the exact same thing as saying y. So f of x is your output. So if I give you guys the output, you would plug it in where the f of x is. If I give you the x, you're going to plug it in where the x is. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn the page. Look, I can't help you if you're not taking notes. So, and actually I'm not going to. I'm not going to. If you guys are just sitting there not writing anything down and you're not paying attention to me, don't ask me for help later. This is ridiculous. There's so few of you, I don't know why you guys aren't doing this. For the first example on the back, it says if you had an equation that typically starts out as y equals 2x plus 6, you can write it as f of x equals 2x plus 6. So again, this f of x means the exact same thing as the y does. So don't let that notation confuse you. It literally is no different than having a y value there. So it says, given the equation y equals 2x plus 6, we're going to evaluate it when x equals 3. So what did they do with that 3? What'd they do with it? They just plugged it in where the x was. So they copied down the y, they copied down the 2, they copied down the plus 6, but where that letter x was, they plugged in the 3. You guys have done that before. When you guys did the whole y equals mx plus b, you guys were used to plugging in a number next to the slope. This is kind of the same thing, but if they give you the x, just make sure you plug it in where the x is. So then all the math is done on this side. And you guys can just go ahead and type that whole thing into the calculator at once. If it is a plug and chug type problem, you can type this in exactly how it looks on paper. Type it into the calculator, like 2 parentheses 3 plus 6. It'll do all the math for you because it knows how to do order of operations. Okay? Now, this time I gave you the equation that said y equals that, and if you look down here at the bottom, it's the exact same equation, but it's got a function notation here instead of the letter y. Does it change anything? No. So if they tell you to find f of 3, that 3 is the number they're telling you to plug in for x. So again, I take the 2 and right next to the 2, I would insert the 3 where the x was, and then I'd have plus 6. Nothing happens over here, you guys. That f of 3 just stays exactly the same, and then all of your math takes place over there on the right hand side. So we would do 2 times 3, which is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12. So our final answer, instead of saying y equals 12 like we did up here, the only difference is now it says f of 3 equals 12. But that again just tells you, okay, this literally means the same thing as y. So the input was 3, the output was 12. When I plug in a 3, I get a 12 out. We okay with that? Bless you. What'd you say? It's okay. You okay with what I just did there? Just plugging it in? You're really not going to have anything more complicated today than like a two-step equation. So right now we're just doing a plug and chug. Eventually I'm going to give you the number that you'll plug in here on the output side and we'll solve for x, but right now they're giving us x, so we're just doing plug and chug. It's on the calendar out there. You'll have to look. Okay, now on this next page, there are 3 examples. I tried to draw boxes around everything because, again, you know, if you remember yesterday, everything was kind of shifted a little bit. Same thing happened here. So I wanted to show you, they gave us this function right here. It said f of x equals 4x plus 8. And for problem 1, they wanted us to find f of 2. So where am I going to plug that 2 in? Yep, for the x. So I would do 4, I'd plug in a 2 right here, and then I'd still have the plus 8. So then all of the math happens on the right-hand side. F of 2 stays the same, and 4 times 2 is 8, plus another 8 gives us 16. So they worked it out here. I'm just reworking it out step by step so you guys can actually see what it would look like if you were doing the problem yourself. And then for number 2, this one, instead of telling us that x is just a number, like up here they gave us just a single digit number of 2, they're now giving us this expression. So they're saying wherever you see the letter x, they want you to plug in a plus 1. So again, next to the 4, instead of writing the letter x, they plugged in the a plus 1, and then they just brought down the plus 8. Now, they're assuming you guys all know from there, in order to get rid of parentheses, what do? Distribute. So you have to kind of think back to when you learned distributive property, what you're supposed to do. So when you distribute, you take 4 times every single term in the parentheses. So I did 4 times a. When you multiply a number and a letter together, the number just attaches itself to the letter. Okay, so 4 times a is 4a, and then 4 times this positive 1 is a positive 4. What happens with this plus 8 that was just hanging out? What do I do with it? Just bring it down. So you notice there's the plus 8 again. And out of these 3 terms, which 2 are the like terms? Like which 2 can I actually go ahead and combine? The 4 and the 8. So the 4a stayed the same, and then 4 plus 8 is 12. So they just wrote their final answer as 4a plus 12. So I would write my final answer. I'd use this function notation. I would say f of a plus 1 equals 4a plus 12. You always, like when you guys solve an equation, you know how normally you put m equals, x equals, y equals. This is kind of the same thing. When you guys tell me what the final answer is, you should always include whatever they told you to find. So that function notation, you should always include that in your answer. And then for the last one up there, and then we're going to practice some down at the bottom. For this one, now they're telling us to plug in a negative 4a wherever you see the letter x. So instead of 4x plus 8, you'll notice right here, instead of having the letter x, they plugged in that negative 4a. And we just have to multiply these two things together. So 4 times -4 is -16, and you keep the a with it. And the plus 8, just like before, is going to drop straight down. Can you actually combine these two terms? Because, yeah, this one has an a and that one doesn't. So you're just going to leave your final answer as -16a plus 8. So I would write it as f of -4a equals -16a plus 8. Most of the ones you guys are going to do today, I'm not going to give you variables to plug in. I'm just going to give you numbers to plug in. So your final answer should probably be some constant, but that's good practice up there. Good practice with distributive property and whatnot. All right, I'm going to set up the first one down here at the bottom, then I'm going to have you guys practice the last three. So here's the function that was given to us. It says f of x equals -5x plus 11. First one they want us to find is f of 1. So where am I plugging that 1 in? Next to what? Next to the -5. So I would write -5, and then in the parentheses, instead of putting x, I'm going to insert that 1. Can somebody open that door? I think somebody knocked, maybe. Or I'm just crazy. It's fine. Just kidding. Okay, so once you guys replace the x with the 1, then you guys can either try to do that computation in your head, like you can just multiply these two and then add 11, or type it into the calculator just like this, -5, parentheses 1, plus 11, and then go ahead and tell me what the final answer should be. Okay, you all should get the number 6 on your calculator. Okay, so please make sure when you write your final answer, you include that function notation. So put f of 1 equals 6. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do is on B, C, and D, I want you to repeat what I just did on part A, but instead, like you guys are just changing this. So you'll still have the -5 and the plus 11, but make sure whatever number they give you, that's the number you're inserting right there. So I want you guys to try those three. Type them into the calculator, put your answer on your paper, and then we'll compare. And just as a reminder, when you guys get to letter C, since it is a fraction that you're plugging in, you know, you can use that ABC button to type in 1/5. You just do 1 ABC 5. I haven't done the computation. I just put up there on the screen what they should look like when you set them up, and then what your final answer should look like, but you guys are going to end up telling me what the final answer should be. What'd you say? We had already done A. Make sure you get this copy down. We're on the second page on the front. Bless you.
Bless you, whoever this is.
Okay. Can somebody tell me what you got for letter B? F of -3 equals. I did not get that. -5 times -3 should be a positive 15 plus 11. 26? 26? Anybody else get 26? Okay. You just left off a negative sign when you typed it in. That's all you did wrong. Okay, how about letter C? When you type in -5 times 1/5 and then plus 11. $10? That's what I got. You should get a positive 10. And then 1.2. Yep, good job. Yeah, these problems are actually really simple as long as you know how to get them typed into the calculator. If you're not typing them in right, then obviously, you know, you might end up with the wrong answer, and you've really got to be careful of all those negative signs. If you leave off a negative, it's going to give you a wrong answer. Okay, you guys have any questions with those so far? Just doing a plug and chug? Excellent. It's great. Go ahead and turn it over. Now, if you read the directions on the next one, it says, determine the value of x. If they want us to find x, shouldn't we be leaving x in the problem? So like this that says the 4x plus 8, we're not putting a number in for x this time because they're telling us to find x. So if we're not plugging it in here, where do you think, where's the only other place we could plug it in? The f of x, this side. So we are now going to replace this with whatever number they give us. So essentially they're giving you the y value. They're giving you the output. We need to find the input, okay? So when they tell us that f of x is equal to 2, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 2 right there. And then the right-hand side is going to stay exactly the same. So 2 equals 4x plus 8. Now I know we have solved plenty of two-step equations in here. What do I move? I'm going to subtract the 8. So we're moving the 8, which means we're doing the opposite. So we should subtract 8 from both sides of our equation. -6 equals 4x. And then our last step would be divide. When the number is side by side, and remember, to get rid of it, we divide. So you guys want to make sure, the reason I write this on the paper is so that way you know to type this in top down. I'm finding, especially in my first period, people see these two numbers and they're typing it in the 4 divided by the 6 and they're getting the wrong answer. So please make sure you guys type this in top down. -1.5. Oops. Negative 1.5. Don't forget that negative sign. It's on there. That right there is as hard as these problems get. You are either doing plug and chug problems like we did before where I gave you X, or you're solving maybe a two-step equation and trying to figure out what the input is, trying to figure out what X is. You guys okay? Okay, so let's try another one. This time they tell us that f of x is negative 1. So where am I putting that negative 1? Left or right? It's going on the left side. It's replacing the f of x up here. So I'm going to have negative 1 equals, and then you leave the 4x plus 8 alone. Shouldn't we have the same two steps? Shouldn't we be subtracting 8 and then eventually we'll divide by the 4? Just take your time. This side people tend to mess up when there are negatives involved, but I always put a circle around it, reminding you whatever's in the circle is all that should be typed in. Like, there should be no extra symbols. It's just negative 1 minus 8. Yep. So negative 9 equals 4x, and then we're going to divide by, We're going to divide by the 4. Just type in negative 9 divided by 4. Somebody besides Colton, tell me what the answer is. Negative 2.5? Is that what I'm hearing? Negative 2.25. 2.25. Negative 2.25. And I know some of you, when you get decimals as answers, if there's only 2 or 3 digits on your calculator after the decimal point, write them all. I'm not going to ask you to do more than 3 digits after the decimal point, but there's no reason to drop that 5. Like, that's rounding a little too much. So if there's 2 or 3 digits, put them both, put all 3, and then stop. Okay? We good with those? The hardest part of these problems is just figuring out, is it a plug and chug or is it a two-step equation? Okay, so when you look down here at the bottom, it says for the function f of n equals 2n minus 7, determine n. They are telling you you are solving for n, which means the 2n minus 7 better stay 2n minus 7. Okay, so I'm going to write 2n minus 7 on the right. What goes on the left? What number they tell us? $11. So we're going to put an 11 right there. I want you guys to go ahead and solve that. Go ahead and do that without me. I'm going to set up B also. They just gave you a different number to plug in. You've got two step equations, and the 2 steps are the exact same. You guys should be adding and dividing.
Would it still be the 4 plus 8?
No, they changed it. We're using this function right there. They're going to give you a different function every time usually. So you just have to pay attention to what the function is. you should be adding 7 to both sides. You have to do the opposite.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a.
You subtracted 7, yeah. You will divide by 2 at the end, but you've got to add the 7 and then divide by 2. And you guys can go ahead and do B as well. B will have the exact same 2 steps as A. Should be adding and dividing. A should be a whole number that's positive, and B should be a decimal that is positive. So if you didn't get a decimal for B, double check and see what you did. What are you guys getting for A? Did anybody else get 9? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so there's your first one. If you were unsure, if you didn't get the 9, just take a look up at the board. I added 7 to both sides, giving us 18 on the left, 2n on the right. Divide by 2. You should have n equals 9. Anybody have an answer for B yet? Yeah. 0.5? Anybody else get 0.5? Okay, so take a look at letter B. If you guys add 7 to -6, that's a positive 1. And then you need to make sure you're dividing by 2. Whenever somebody sees a 1 and a 2, instantly in their head they think, well, 2 divided by 1 is 2, and they just leave it as a whole number. But again, if you look at the left side, this top number is smaller than the bottom, which means it's a fraction. So you should end up with a decimal. 0.5. Questions? None? What'd you say? No, about this, about functions. All right, then down here at the bottom, just again, notice here's a new function. So this time we're using g of x equals -5x plus 1. I hope you guys notice that it's not f of x every time. I mean, we've had f of n, f of x, g of x. They all mean the same thing. They're just different letters, but it doesn't really change anything about the problem. So this time says g of x is -5x plus 1, so they want us to determine x. So again, they're wanting us to solve for the variable. So when you plug in this 41, if you plugged it in right here, there would not be a variable anymore. So it doesn't make sense to plug it in for x. It makes sense to plug it in on the left side. So there's your starting equation for that one. And then this one, same thing, except I'm going to have a -16 on the left. And you guys just have 2 steps to do. How would you move the +1? Subtract 1 from both sides, and then how do we get rid of the -5? Divide by -5. I think the first one should give you a negative whole number. The second one will give you a positive decimal if you do them correctly. Yes. Oh, that's supposed to be a G. Good catch. I didn't see that either. This one right here, you guys, I know that says an F, but they're wanting you to use the same function, so that really should say G of X, not F of X. That was a typo. So you can just change it. What's the answer of the first one on the left? -8. That's what I got. Anybody get an answer for the second one yet? Well, there they both are. So if you guys subtract 1, you get 40, and 40 divided by -5 is -8. This one, when you subtract 1, you got to be careful with that -16 minus 1. That's a -17. And then -17 divided by -5 is 3.4. Okay, so everybody doing okay? Great. Fantastic. All right, go ahead and flip it over. Okay, so we are basically going to end up doing the same thing here that we've already been doing. It's just now, instead of coming right out and saying, find this if X is this, they're giving it to you in table form. So, everybody look up here, please. This column is the X column. So if they have given us this number, if they have given us X, this is the side that we do plug and chug. So anytime they give you an X, you do plug and chug. If they give you F of X, that's the output they've given you. So you wouldn't do plug and chug, you would solve the equation for the variable. Okay? So for these three, let's letter them. We're going to call these A, B, C, D, and E. The function is up here. For letter A, we are going to do F of the -6 equals, and then we're just replacing that X right there with the -6. So you guys would do 2/3 times -6 plus 4. And whatever you get there, that's going to be your answer on the right side. So you might want to write that down. That's just a calculator problem right there. For letter B, same type of thing, but they want us to find F of -3. So you're typing in 2/3 times -3 plus 4. Which other one is the plug and chug problem? C, D, or E? D. So letter D would also be F of 2 equals 2/3 times 2 plus 4. So you guys get to plugging and chugging. all calculator work, guys. I can't do everything for you. Type it in. I have the same 2 or 3 people answering every single time. You guys get 0 for the first one? Yeah, I heard one person say yes. For A, 0. I'll show you in a minute. B, what'd you guys get for B? 2? What'd you guys get for D? Type that in again. Do 2ABC3 times 2 plus 4. I think you forgot to put the times 2 in there. 2ABC3 times 2 plus 4. 2. Yeah, it's up there. You get 5 1/3. So on your calculator, you guys, it has the number 5, and then it has like a U and then a 1/3. The U separates the whole number from the fraction. So this is just 5 1/3. So write that down on your paper. So I didn't put my answers over here. I put my answers in the chart. So 0, 2, and 5 1/3. Okay. Now, if they have given us this number, so like for C and E, they have not given us X. They have given us the final answer. So we're going to plug the 4 in where the f of X is. I shouldn't have written so big. So letter C I'm going to work out over here. I would put 4 equals 2/3 X plus 4. You got to stop coming in other classes. Okay, write that equation on your paper, please. This one's going to be a little bit harder because the number in front of the variable is a fraction. It's going to be a little bit harder to get typed into the calculator. Okay, so what is my step 1 on that problem? What number do I move first? Okay, the plus 4, which means we are... Okay, so everybody subtract 4 from both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0. At least this one's not too bad. 0 equals 2/3 X. Excuse me, 2/3 times what would give you 0? The only number that you could multiply 2/3 by and get an answer of 0 is 0, right? Now, if you want to know how to type this in, because this number is not always going to be 0, we'd have to divide both sides by 2/3. So if you guys right now type in 0 divided by 2ABC3, just make sure the calculator actually tells you 0. Okay. Letter E, we're going to do the same way. I just don't have a whole lot of room, so I'm going back over here. For letter E, we're plugging in a 12 on the left-hand side. So 12 equals 2/3 X plus 4. What is my step 1? Subtract the 4. So you'd get 8 on the left, 2/3 X on the right. And then what am I dividing by? 2/3. So you guys will want to type in 8 divided by 2ABC3. Doesn't it just take you back to 12? So the answer for letter E is 12. So now you guys should have the entire T chart filled out. So now guess what you guys get to do? No, the table at the bottom. You basically have 5 problems within the same problem. So again, I am going to label this as A, B, C, D, E. And it is pretty much set up the same way. A, B, and D are the plug and chug ones. Look, I don't get angry very often, but I'm getting kind of annoyed really bad right now because you guys, a lot of you, I'd say about half of you right now are literally just waiting for all the answers to be given to you. You need to practice. Like, some of you haven't picked up a calculator the whole time you've been sitting here. I don't know what you're doing. If you're wanting to pass this class this term, you got to start doing some work. A, B, and D are all plug and chug problems. So you guys should be typing all this into your calculator and getting your answers. Well, it's the same thing. You're just plugging it in. You're just changing the number every time. So no James, no Colton, no Aiden for now. Somebody else give me the answer to A. Let's see. So -1 times -8 would be +8, divided by 4 would be 2, and then -5. Should be -3. Let me look. -1. Oh, okay. So see, that's a negative sign, that's a negative sign. You see this? See how it looks the same? Your minus sign should never, change that to me. Now it equals. Yeah, so that's what it was. Okay, how about when you plug in a -4? -4? You also get -4? Now letter D is probably going to be like a fraction, a mixed number maybe, because I think it's, let's see, -1/2 minus 5. So like -5 1/2. -5 and 1/2. Okay, then the other two, C and E, you guys are going to have those equations to solve. So for letter C, this -2 would go where the f of x is. So I'd have -2 equals -1/4 x minus 5. And letter E, you'd put a -8 right there. So -8 equals -1/4 x minus 5. So what will our two steps be solving C and E? Add 5. Add 5 to both sides, and then what? Divide by -1/4. Yep, you should be adding 5. And you said you got 3 when you added 5? So then to get rid of that fraction, we're going to divide by -1/4. So this is what you guys should be typing in. 3 divided by -1/4. Yep. And if you already have that answer, then go ahead and work out E if you haven't already. Anybody else get -12 besides Aiden?
I got +12.
Okay, you just forgot to leave off that negative sign. That's it. So just watch those signs. Now you will use the same two steps on letter E. You will still be adding 5 and then still dividing by -1/4. What's -8 plus 5? Yeah, so this one's actually really similar. Instead of a +3, I got a -3, but I'm still dividing by the same thing. So two negatives divided will turn, and then it will be 12, right? Yeah, because when you take negative divided by negative, when you type that in, that should give you a +12. Okay, what I'd like you guys to do is I just gave you this practice page, okay? Some of these, like these two tables here, for problem numbers 3 and 4, they have actually given you every single number that we're going to use. Up here, there's some blanks. I'm not really concerned about the blank ones. I mean, you still have at least one of each type. So what I'd like you guys to do is just work on 1 through 4. So if they give you the number here, it is a plug and chug, and make sure you use the function that was given above the table. If they give you the number on the right, that's when you write an equation. So you'll plug in the -2 on the left side and leave x in it and solve. Okay, so I want you guys to just work on 1 through 4, and then we're going to go through them. But you guys are doing them on your own. You've got plenty of examples there on your notes, and then we're going to save the bottom half and the rest of the notes for tomorrow.